make it. It was a video showing how I rebuilt the rear end of our 28-foot Class C Travel Air. I don't know how good quality this is going to be, but I promised someone I would get it done, and I will try to do something better later on. Especially, I thought I had more photos of this. I haven't been able to find them, but this is what I have right now. So, anyways, this is the finished product. We'll come back to this in a minute, but this is kind of what we started with. Zoom in here. This is, if you have been to my page, you've seen this picture before. But this is the rear end of our Class C as it was originally. You can see the chrome is flaking off the bumper. It had these inset taillights. There was a patch that was here. I didn't know why it was there, although I did find out later on why. But it was, not horrible, but not a great looking piece. And what happened later on, actually here's another photo again showing both sides. So you can see the lights are inset right inside, flush with the outside of the motorhome. So what happened was that I think 2 springs ago, as we're getting the unit ready to go out in the spring, we noticed that inside this wall, this is our rear bedroom, the bed is against this side of the motorhome. There's a walkway on this side. But I noticed the paneling on the inside was wet or damp and starting to expand with moisture. And I noticed it only started from about there and went down. I was trying to figure out why it wasn't above here, it wasn't right below the window, so it wasn't the window that was leaking. But anyways, I finally figured out it was this taillight. The tail water was running down the back of the motorhome into the taillight assembly and got in under the paneling and all underneath here. So I realized this was going to be a bit of a mess, and thought about what I was going to do, and I realized I kind of wanted to replace these taillights anyways. They really weren't very bright. So I thought, and I didn't like this patch. I thought, well, let's have a look at there. And I pulled that taillight out and thought, well, I better check this one. I pulled that taillight out, and sure enough, underneath that was all damp as well. I thought, well, crap. So I might as well just take it all out from here down, replace, get a nice paneling. We ended up going with the checker plate, but that's what we thought we'd do. So this is the start of it. Zoom in here a bit. Again, you can see that inset light. It was here, and all the rot underneath it. And let's see if we can go over here. Again, inset. This is the side we noticed first. You know what? I have to say, I don't know how stupid I was. Like, why did I not think to get rid of this spare tire? We didn't get rid of it till the very end. I don't know why I worked around it for so long, but it just didn't occur to me for some reason. Anyways, but the other thing I noticed is that these inset lights had absolutely no insulation behind them. And we do use this camper in the wintertime, and so these lights, there was a bulb, a lens, a bulb, piece of plastic, and then paneling, and that was it. There was no insulation there at all. Not that, it would have been wet anyways, but so I thought, well, to heck with that. Let's pull it out. So we pulled it all out. We pulled all the insulation was all wet. You'll see here in the picture in a minute that it was there was mold on the bottom. It was just a bit of a mess. In fact, I think here it took the trim off, or the trim guard, or I don't know what you call it, but it's off the sides. That's what held the paneling in. And it wasn't that hard to get the panel off. Here's a little better picture after we cleaned a lot of it out. We filled those holes out with some scrap wood, gouged out a little thing here for tail lights. Actually, this is a picture. You see there's kind of black mold down here, and we did spray it to start with. I was just going to spray it and leave it, and actually I did end up taking out this chunk, these 2 chunks right here, especially because the ladder rested, connected to them. And I just thought I better put better quality wood in there. So I pulled those chunks out, found pieces to fit, screwed and glued them, sprayed all the black foam out. This was the inside paneling here. I pulled the inside paneling off on this side. Again, that stupid tire's in the way, so you can't see it. I pulled the inside paneling off this side. I'll show you the inside in a minute. I didn't pull it off this side. It was actually in pretty decent shape, although probably I should have, because I ended up covering the whole thing, but I didn't. So we replaced a lot of this with a foam board insulation, that hard foam, and then used just kind of scrap insulation in a lot of other places. I said, but just replacing some chunks of wood. This little connector right here, I think that's why that patch was in the back panel. That's the only thing I could figure out, was that maybe this wire came disconnected somehow, and they've somehow figured out that they need to get in there to fix it. But that's the only reason I could figure out why that original patch was in the back. So like I said, new insulation, new boards, this again scrap board there. This is another board we put in just again to build up the strength a little bit. As you see, I mean, the original construction is 2x2. It's all stapled together. It's not great, but that's pretty typical for these RVs. Here's an inside shot. Pulled the bed. There was a bed here. You can see this is where the bed used to be. There's a door for storage area underneath. A bit of a mess, water lines. But this is taking out the paneling on this side. Again, just using some scrap insulation here. Oh yeah, I actually pulled that out because although it wasn't that the paneling wasn't damp, the insulation actually had the water had what's it called? I think wicked. The water kind of got sucked up into the insulation. I think it's called wicking, and so I ended up just pulling that out because I had to replace this panel anyway. So just thought we'd put some new insulation in there. So glued and screwed. You can see some extra supports in there. And there's that chunk of wood that I showed from the other side. Not a lot there. So after we got the insulation on, we bought some of this. This is just really thin panel board I found. I can't remember where, Home Hardware or Home Depot or something. Anyways, just found this really thin paneling. It's really, not much use except for holding the insulation in and holding everything together. In fact, there's 2 layers here, and so we pulled through the wires through. This is for the tail lights, and the backup light actually goes below, and there was a light wire we pulled down there for that. And you can see again below here, the paneling is below. Again, tire, like why did I not think to move the tire? I don't know. Anyways, it did eventually. As you can see here, presto. This is pretty much the final project. So we used this, bought a chunk of this checker plate, and this was probably the hardest part of the whole project, was getting the checker plate installed. It has to kind of be this fuel tank filler thing. Anyways, that came off. That just screwed in there, so we just pulled that off, and that was hanging down below here. And so the panel had to go into the grooves. It had to go along it fit actually right inside the locking mechanism. I don't know what you call it, where the channel, where the panel, all the siding used to go together, except for the very corner. It didn't fit perfectly. It was a bit of a force there, and so we ended up siliconing that quite a bit. And anyways, so there's the trim back on, holding everything together. We've got some of this new black vinyl stuff that goes in it. These are LED tail lamps. I think they're actually designed for a boat trailer. Anyways, I wanted to get waterproof ones, so these are waterproofed. The hole going through the checker plate, we drilled it out and put a rubber grommet in there, and then silicone, put a whole bunch of silicone, not silicone, sorry. I think it's some special type of silicone that wasn't going to eat the rubber grommet, so we had to make sure that we get the right type so that the rubber grommet wouldn't get eaten away by the silicone. And we had, again, 2 screws had to be put from the inside of the checker plate out, and those were siliconed as well, so that water couldn't get in behind, and those tail lights mounted. I forget. They don't rest, but they're connected to those 2 screws. Right? So the other one over here, this one, I just a little bit crooked, and my OCD bugs me every time I see it, but it just happened to be the way it was. Put in some reverse taillights there. We were able to, again, re-drill the supports for the ladder. That went through the panel on the bottom. It all got fixed in. I made one cut just about, you can't quite see it here, about 2 inches too long here. Actually, here, let's zoom in. Yeah, just about 2 inches too long here. But anyways, again, that was siliconed up. And that was pretty much the end of the project. Put the tire back on like I finally thought to take the tire off. I don't know, again, what was to get me so long to get that figured out. But anyways, yeah, and then actually I ended up getting some silver trim clad paint to paint these little chunks. It's not chrome, but it's better than nothing. So I hope that was of some kind of interest to you. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or ask the question. I may not have covered everything because I was just kind of going off the top of my head. If I find better pictures later on, I will make a new video. I am going to put a link to all these photos are all in a Google Drive. I will put a link. I've made these photos all public, so I'll put a link to these in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. Thank you.